Hello, one and all future listeners. Hello, rollers. Welcome back to the Roll Report and another episode of Classin' Up the Joint. This is the part of the show where we ask awesome guests unawesome questions. I'm working on it. It's a little different every time. My name is Colin. I am your host. I use he and they pronouns. I am delighted to be joined by a fantastic guest once again. Fantastic guest. I leave it to you to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Tomas Gimenez Rioja. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a game designer, a software engineer by day as well. I am a writer, project manager. I have plenty of hats going on. Actual player right now as well.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
We love that. We love breaking out of Forever GM into getting play.
Exactly. Plenty of stuff going on. Yeah, I'm both for a GM and now a player. Also, a bit of a GM, I think, on some actual plays. So we'll see how it goes, depending on the time and what's needed.
I mean, love that. Where can people find these if they exist already, or are they secret upcoming projects?
Actual plays are going all around the places at the moment. I don't have specific dates for most of them. I know that I am playing at Pasión de las Pasiones game on September, which will be very fun considering I'm Latino, Hispanic.
Yeah.
And there are some others that are coming sooner rather than later. I'll let you know over the socials when that happens.
And we'll have links to everything that is currently up in show notes once they are here. Tomas, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited for a number of reasons. Partly, I've been talking to people in my own hemisphere the entire time, and I really am like, I mentioned this when we had a meeting, just like, I'm so excited to know what's going on in the scene in places that are not the US and not this country, you know? Yeah. And I'm excited to get to it. I'm excited to get to the writing and all the things. But let's start as we have been. When did you start playing? What system and what grabbed you? What first sunk its hooks in and brought you into RPGs and gaming?
Excellent. So I am one of the sort of new kids on the block, let's say, because as some people start to get into the whole TTRPG space through Stranger Things, because they showed off D&D and what the monsters were, even though they were nothing like the actual thing. Yep. And it is still fun to see. And well, I pretty much was interested in D&D. I have played once with a DM that didn't do that great their job, so I wasn't very excited about it. But when another player came in and said, hey, Stranger Things is going on, and I was thinking maybe we can play some D&D or something like that, and all we just need is a DM. And okay, great, when do we start? And he starts like looking at me like saying, you are going to be our DM. So yes, I got caught by that, and truth be told, I love DMing, I love GMing. I prefer being on the other side of the screen. I love being diabolical with my players and just throwing monsters at them and ruining and giving also at the same time their best days ever.
It's both.
You need to find the balance.
Even in the same session, you can do both of those things, you know?
Exactly. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got started. And from there on, I GM'd that campaign for about 6 years, playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist in the middle of it. But 6 long years from level 1 to 17 until my mind started to get tired of so much medieval fantasy going on and I need to go to something else. And amongst those years, I started to delve a bit deeper into the TTRPG space by writing articles, by designing my own games, and that's how I got to be so much in love with the entirety of the TTRPG space.
Amazing. So I'm gonna poke at this. So you just like were handed we're gonna start playing, you're gonna start GMing for us. And did you just start from Waterdeep Dragon Heist and expand past that? Because that only covers levels 1 to 5, if I'm remembering. But I'm curious because I honestly did kind of the same thing. I was like, well, I need something to do, and this module seems pretty cool. And it was honestly a pretty easy lift as a first time GM. But was that the module that you started with?
Truth be told, I didn't start with any. Well, let me correct myself. I did start with a starter pack, but my players started getting bored because they got pre-made characters and they wanted to create their own stuff. They wanted their own world, their own things, and they didn't want to be barricaded within the walls of the adventure. So I created a small town with some NPCs and some stuff going on. It wasn't that big. There was some sort of prophecy at the beginning because I had to go with the usual stuff that happens in medieval fantasy. And from there onwards, the campaign started expanding until I had a whole huge map in which, of course, as a DM, I designed where everything that was about to happen in the last part of the campaign happened first, and then I got to the beginning of it. And we never reached that ending, but I was happy designing what was going to happen at the very end still. Well, possibly, if the campaign kept going in the right direction.
I mean, and 6 year and 16 levels later, that's... how close were you to the end game?
We were pretty damn close. Yeah.
Were you going to have them get all the way to level 20 there, or just like
the idea was to do that? Yeah. They were going to fight a Cthulhu-esque-like creature that is the entity of chaos, as well as a Terrask, both creatures at once. On level 20. It was going to be epic, on top of the sea.
I love that.
While pirate ships were going to be blasting both beasts and all the NPCs gathering around Avenger-style endgame. I had it all planned and we never got there. I'm a bit mad about it. But
I mean, there's still time. I would not be surprised if your players were like, I would totally pick that character back up and finish the session, you know?
I mean, we could do something like that, but I told them everything that was remaining. And my downfall was that I wanted to create a mega dungeon because I had a lich that was very important to the idea of the campaign. They were the ones that was going to summon these entities into the world, and they had to go through the whole mega dungeon to discover the whole backstory of this lich and get to fight them at the end. But I never got to finish designing that mega dungeon. I went over my head with that, and that's what happened.
No, I mean, that makes sense. I think there's a reason why people specifically design dungeons and like really focus into that niche in RPG creation. You know? As much as tools like Incarnate and Dungeon Alchemist and other things have made it easier to build your own, like the amount of planning to really go into it and make it good and not just kind of be like, chamber and another chamber and another chamber and another chamber and yet another chamber. And did we mention there's a chamber?
Yeah, well, the thing is that I am a level design fan over here because I got a bit started with all of this by my love with video games, and level design can be pretty easily attached to the creation of environments and encounters in D&D. Yeah. So the whole concept behind having the dungeon tell the story of a character was fascinating for me. I wanted there to be many different like factions going on at once, like in many of the old school dungeons from D&D. And a lot of that was going on, and as I told you, I went over my head, and I had plenty of ideas I wanted to have happening there, with lots of things happening at once with it. But I never got to finish it. I delayed our session for about 3 months before I just told my players, hey, no, I'm never going to finish this. Sorry. Let's play something else, and keep going.
Now, as you started building this, did you also start researching sort of like older dungeons, older models of D&D, or I think I'm poking at the, like, as you got started with, it sounded like not a whole lot of like warning and foreknowledge beyond what was maybe just around in pop culture and general consciousness.
I have no clue.
Yes, I love that. I just love that because I love it because it's such a cool thing about the worlds that you can create within these games, where you don't need to know all of the established canon. You don't need to know what else is going on, and even really mechanically how some of it works. You can just, this is what I like doing, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, the moment I started with D&D, the first book that I got was Senator's Guide for Everything. I think it was his name. I have it over here. Yeah, for everything.
Yeah.
And I bought it because it was a limited edition cover that was just released, and I wanted it because it looked pretty. So there I got to know Senator, and I started to know some extra stuff about the whole world behind it. And because Senator's Guide to Everything was released with D&D Live, at the moment, there were some actual plays going on there that told a bit of the story of Faerun and the Forgotten Realms. And all that stuff was fascinating for me. I stole a lot of ideas from the Forgotten Realms, as well as from other settings, like Eberron and stuff like that. I just kept pulling out things. Well, Critical Role, because I started watching them as well. There was tons of stuff that they stole for everything, and that's how I kept going, and I kept going. I made tons of mistakes when I started. In fact, one of the things that always comes as something hilarious when I keep telling this sort of backstory here is that one of my players was playing a warlock, and because he didn't know much English and we weren't paying that much attention to the stuff, he was playing with all subclasses of warlock at once.
Nice,
exactly. So it was so OP.
Yeah.
We had the fighter playing with like a 2 armor, 2 weapon style in the same vein that World of Warcraft does. So he was using both two
like two arms, great axes, like two weapons.
2 great axes, one on each hand, something like that. It was crazy. But still, the cleric remained the most powerful one for some reason we don't know.
I love that. I mean, clerics hit real hard and pretty early in a lot of ways too. I love that. I do think it is true that, you know, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And when so many people have made really great sandboxes to play in already, it's so nice to be able to be like, no, I want the sand castle from there. I want the weird little thing that makes a sand wall from that other sandbox, and actually just like a scoop of the sand from this third one, you know? And you make amazing stories out of it.
Exactly. And it's not just that. I will just go and watch a movie because I'm a cinephile and grab one entire adventure from it and put it into my setting. I was watching Firefly, the TV series as well. I grabbed a whole chapter and made an adventure out of it in my own setting. And it was fascinating every single time. I just kept putting stuff into adventure, and the moments that I got to grab something, put it into adventures, and my players noticed it, they would just go, "This is amazing! This is the best thing ever!" So go ahead, keep stealing stuff from media, books, movies, comics, anime, whatever. Your players are going to love it anyway.
Which Firefly episode? I'm really curious as a genuine fan of the show.
Oh, great. It's the one in which I think that the gang from the Firefly went and were saving like a small village that were in need of some medicine or something like that. So they stole the medicine, and the government went behind them and started guns ablazing, fishing everyone. Because the government, I think that, or some mafia, something like that was going on, just deceived the Firefly crew into thinking that the people that were looking for the medicine were stealing something else. And the moment they just noticed
the train job,
the train job, that is the one.
Awesome.
Yes, and in here there was a gang that stole some medicine from a noble, and the noble recruited the adventuring party and said, hey, there is this gang of misfits that pretty much stole my stuff, so go wreck them. And the moment that the players got there and found out that all the gang members were trying to recover from some illness going on and stole the medicine just because they were desperate for it, it was amazing. And the thing is that this noble, because they were taking so long in getting the medicine back, kidnapped one of the NPCs. So they absolutely hated that man to the point in which they wrecked the noble. And because a henchman managed to survive, the henchman got to revive the guy, and he came back. And he got to kidnap another NPC later in the campaign. There is no NPC my players hated as much as this noble. He had nothing. He just had power because he was a noble. That's it.
This is what I love. You create the most memorable things, sometimes based on the character being terrible. Yes. And your players love you for it and hate
the
that
absolute
character.
Worst. Yes. Yeah. And they will just go in their own adventure, and they will just receive that an assassin was sent to kill them, and the assassin will just leave a message for the player characters. And what is it? It's a finger from one of their beloved NPCs. As I said, the absolute worst.
No, dark and just the worst human ever.
Yes.
Begging the question for me, did you also give the noble like a really annoying voice? Do they?
Something like that. I love making this sort of nobles that talk like this and keep being almighty and nosy and saying stuff like, you'll never be able to
go and steal my medicine back for me and whatnot.
You really think you can do something to defeat me? I have all your family in there. I'm going to slash each of their throats if you make an extra step.
Oh, see, I just want to play in one of your games. That sounds incredible.
Thank you.
Your players were very lucky to have you, and especially I huge props for diving right into your first campaign and going, I'm gonna make it up. I'm gonna make mistakes, and it's gonna be great. And we're gonna go to
many mistakes.
Level 17 over 6 years. That is amazing. I want to say that's rare for a first-time DM just kind of be like, I'm in it for 6 years.
I mean, I just wanted to reach level 20 because my players were hyped for it. So that's the main reason we went so long with it. And I made a huge campaign ahead of time. But I didn't know that much about how it was going to end at the beginning. I just had some sort of idea that I wanted an entity of chaos to be summoned into the world, maybe some sort of powerful wizard thrown in there that then became a lich with a whole backstory. And as I said before, I stole ideas because this lich was pretty much Manchun. He had tons of clones going on. And he went all over the realm, and he appeared multiple times. At one moment, he was riding a white dragon but it was not him, but his corpse, because he died from old age. And the players managed to find that, and that's where they got clues from the Lich, and then they kept going on. There were some mambo shambos going on as well, in which Wish made it so that one of the player characters became like some sort of version of this Lich as well. Wow. So they kept getting memories from the backstory of the Lich as they were going there with adventure. Cool. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm amazing. I love everything kind of feeds back into itself over the course of the campaign, that like the seeds are planted early, and then you see like this little thing happen here, and then it's going to pop up 6 levels later over here. Yeah.
And you never know. You're going to wreck some stuff. There are going to be some story holes in there as well. I had one player that went all conspiracy theorist and created a huge map. I tell you, it was so huge.
Yes.
Of a concept map with all the details about the campaign. I was so proud of him.
Yeah.
And I used that concept map so much when I received it, because I was forgetting some stuff that I created, and I went back to look at it.
Do.
Yeah, and there was so many stuff that was so wrong about the theories that he had.
Yeah,
but it was still amazing.
And I think that's a mark of success as a GM, when your players are that excited and that into it, that they want to track all of the different ideas and all the different scraps that you're putting in front of them and see how it can weave together at the end.
I hope so, at least, because if not, I did something very wrong.
Fair enough. I mean, if they were with you that whole time, it sounds like you were doing it very right,
they were very excited, and they are still players of mine so many years later. Now we're playing Pathfinder 2E. But yeah, we keep going.
What did you switch right to Pathfinder after abandoning this mega dungeon, or did some other things happen along the way?
No, after playing D&D 5e and getting tired of it, I got to GM for another player group, in which I created a 2-year campaign of Kids on Brooms, which is your Harry Potter style sort of magic school with stuff happening on it. But because I am so me, let's say, I made it so that it's more for grown-ups, Harry Potter for grown-ups, in a way that there was the government getting to know of the wizards. There was this sort of Area 51 thing going on as well, that were trying to corner the wizards into revealing their magic and being a part of the military. Well, lots of stuff was going on. A lot of horror elements as well.
And there's something, you can do that with players that are portraying teenagers, but I would like to imagine, I'd like to think that the responses of your players and the breadth of the story you can tell can get a little bit more involved, a little more complex and darker if you want it to. When everyone's like, no, okay, like I'm playing a 20-something. They're still young and stupid, maybe, but I'm not playing a like 15-year-old.
Exactly. They were all like 20-something in the short, 20 short, and that allowed us to tackle more grown-up stuff. And lots of relationships going on as well, as well as very dark stuff. I mean, there is this thing that I stole from a designer called Crispy Set. There is a little magazine that he created with lots of ideas, and one of those was content warning for lots of flesh and meat and stuff. It was a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cube of flesh. Gross. Pure flesh. And it could talk telepathically with you and teleport. So horrifying. The moment that you got caught by this sort of course that this thing had going on, you saw the cube of flesh at all times. It will just present itself on the worst moments to make a pact with you. And that caused so many dark stuff to happen for the player characters, and they kept going farther into the making deals with the devil, or in this case, the cube of flesh.
Cube. Oh God, make deals with the flesh cube.
Yes, which, by the way,
Amazing.
was the daughter of Baba Yaga in my story.
Love that.
Yeah, so that was an extra layer of fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and thing I was thinking of as well, like, spoilers for Steven Universe, I guess, but like Steven Universe is the story of a child who has to deal with many of the things that you would be confronted with in a fantasy campaign or a sci-fi campaign. Steven has to fight things, has to rescue people, has his loved ones taken from him. And then in kind of in the future series, like as he's a, teenager, young 20 person, you see that he is like, kids like anyone else can be deeply traumatized by the life they have led. And so I get where I'm going with this, I guess. I wonder if a group of players would want that. If you're going to play a game with people that are teenagers and they're having some terrible stuff, like, are you going to play honest and have them sort out some of their emotional trauma and problems through the campaign?
You need to find the right group, right? It's not super easy, I think. There's this thing going on as well, because I did run 6 years of campaign with my player group, but I had to use another player group to play Kids on Brooms because my players were used to the power fantasy of having everything very crunchy mechanic. To rely a lot on the mechanics of the game, and Kids on Brooms or all the Kids on Bikes and Kids on Caves and Kids on everything games are very rules light, as many other games are, which means that you are mostly role-playing stuff. And that allows you to be the one that makes the decisions instead of the dice forcing you to do so. And when you are a teenager, a young adult, or all those stuff, you as a player need to want to go there. But at the same time, being an adult playing a role-playing game in which you are a teenager or a young adult, you can sort of decide if you want to live through that stuff from a safe place, which is something that is very cool. And by using the safety toolkits that are at your disposal, you can get as much of that dark stuff as you can. And have everyone at the table get an amazing experience. I had one of the characters also get brainwashed by the government and stuff like that. It was pretty dark.
Well, and again, like I'm glad you mentioned it. I think this is where we're going to repeat the often said thing on this show that safety tools and consent at your table are debatably the most important things for everyone having a good time. If everyone's on board with a flesh cube, making deals with a flesh cube and getting brainwashed by the government, great. And if someone's not on board, hopefully the hope is we work together as a table, GM and players, to work around those sticky places.
Create the best story possible. Make a session 0 and lay your ground from the very beginning, so you know that you will not expect something dark or that may trigger you to happen.
Exactly. Hey listeners, Colin here, just cutting in for a quick moment to say thanks for listening. We hope you're really enjoying the show. We are having so much fun making it and getting to play together, and hopefully you're having fun listening. We'd really love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Maybe even go one more minute further and leave us a review. We love reading them. It makes us feel great, and we will give you a shout out on the show as soon as you do that. If you really love us, and we hope you do, head on over to patreon.com/therollreport. And maybe you can give us whatever you can spare a month. For as little as $2 a month, you'll support this show and everyone involved in making it. A little bit more, and you won't have to listen to me or anyone else asking you for money or telling you about our social media handles. That's right, on Instagram and TikTok at The Roll Report Cast, you can find exclusive new art, all sorts of cool stuff, little edited videos of the interviews that you might not have heard even, and so much more. Thank you all so much for listening. We love doing this, and we hope you are having fun with us. Back to the show. On that note with no segue whatsoever and no follow, but to wrench us back to the questions of the show. Our first extremely important question, Tomas, what is your favorite character class or classes in D&D?
My favorite class, I need to say, okay, I'm going to go with two of them, and are going to be the ones that are so tied to like higher entity. These are the cleric and the warlock for me. And the reason I love so much these classes is because from the ground up you have an story element that ties you with something you can roleplay with. It being like, if you are a cleric, you usually have some other priest or the god itself you can talk to that is an important NPC on the campaign. You know from the start that that thing is going to be important in your campaign, unless you're playing a one shot or something like that is not related to your character itself. But either with that or with the patron from the warlock, you can make lots of cool things happen. Going back to the campaign that I told about from the 6-year campaign, one of the players decided to play the son of Asmodeus as a warlock.
Okay.
And have a pact with Mephistopheles to sort of try to get Asmodeus out of his throne.
Right.
And there was lots of devil deals going on. I do love playing as devils. And just going in and there and saying, hey, do you need some help? I have a contract that you can sign.
How badly do you want that help?
Exactly. I had a player character that needed to get out of prison in order to not get their head chopped off by one of the cities in there, and had to make a deal with the devil, and it came back biting his ass for the rest of the campaign. It was beautiful.
As it should. Yeah, amazing.
Yes.
And this is something I, looking back, I have my spreadsheet of all the answers people have said. Like, cleric and warlock have been mentioned less often than I think rogues are still winning. But
rogue are a classic,
right? What people have said that I agree with, and that I think that you have said as well, is those characters, you immediately have external forces at play in your campaign. You immediately have a deity or something similar that is going to affect your story from the moment you open the gates. It's already there. It's just waiting for someone to grab it,
Exactly. You're just giving one more toy for the DM to play with. And that's, from the DM standpoint, it is always great to have. And from the player standpoint, it's something that you can rely on at any moment. You can always go, if you are a cleric, you can keep talking about your god as if it's the best thing ever, or your warlock hating your patron because the archfey that is your patron is always bothering you.
And it gives DMs, you get a great, I don't know what the next main story arc is, so your warlock patron shows up and says, go shave that yak for me, as it might be, so you can immediately send your party on some fun tangents. You can immediately have the sense of the supernatural brought in there. And God, they're so much fun. They're so fun.
When you play with the planes of existence and all the things that are out of the normal life, you're giving yourself permission to use much more on that. When you make a pact with an archfey, you have all the Feywild at your disposal. When you use a devil, you can pull up a lot of devilish or demons at the same time. When you do so with a cleric that is always tied to a knowledge domain cleric, something like that, you can have them learn lots of lore about your world. There is a lot of stuff that can happen there.
Both patron and deity can give you really great exposition dumps. You can, if the party's been beating their head against the wall of what is this plot point? What are we doing? There's always a nice way to have the patron shows up hey, you guys are doing that wrong. Why don't you try this?
I've done a bit of that at the very beginning. I try not to do it as much because I don't want to be the one that leads the characters into the right direction. I usually just make an hole on the wall and have them go through it. Oh, you were so smart. Go ahead. It was all your idea.
Yes. Well, and I, also mechanically, like, hit so hard, can do so much, both damage and utility. Clerics, as their pure spellcasters, like, the things that you can do as a high level, even a medium or low level cleric, is so incredible.
The cleric on the campaign was the tank, the DPS, and the healer on the first 3 levels. Because he was just the best at everything. And he had the lowest stats possible. So it had nothing to do with the stats he rolled. It was all the class itself. It's very powerful and very... has a lot of utility at the same time.
And it really, I think something that I like about both of them as well is your patron or your domain, like your deity or whoever's patron you are, like, it changes what you are able to do so much,
Definitely.
I think about many of the clerics that, some of them have their, like, the divine strike at a certain point. You get your, like, add damage of your deity to a melee attack. But so many of them, like, will never ever use that, and they'll only be using different features of their channel divinity or, like, other things like that. And the same with the warlock. You can
with all the Eldritch invocations. Yeah, the Mask of Many Faces is the MVP of the show here. I love that Eldritch invocation to play around.
It's pretty great.
Yes.
Yeah, and you change yourself from support to damage to there's probably a way to get a warlock healer. There probably is. I haven't thought about it.
There was the Celestial Pact Warlock that was pretty much a healer. I remember. I think it was from the Senator. Possibly.
Yeah, you get celestial. I mean, we'll talk about other stuff.
Celestial damage. There was like a font of healing, something like that.
Yeah,
I can't recall the.
Yeah, there's a couple things in there, but and man, excellent choices. I don't know what else to say. Like, I think both of them give such a wealth of options for both player and DM to lean into.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
so much to play with.
Solid. Oh yeah. I'm like, I was looking had the pages open, looking at them again, like thinking about if there's the thing to call out. And the other thing I think that I'm going to call out, one of the things so in fairness and in honesty, I have never played a warlock. I have never played a warlock, and some of my friends from various campaigns know that I, in fact, have said I will never play a warlock.
Why is that?
But it's because I think they are more fun in a campaign. And some of these friends, we play sort of on Discord servers that are large open world role play. So make a character, drop them in, but like we've kind of, we've set up a town, and anyone who wants will DM individual events of like a monster attacking the town or whatever. But it's not a coherent campaign. You'll still level up. We do things, and we'll like basically use experience points based. But it's not organized around a thing the way a campaign is. And to me, that's where I think a warlock becomes most interesting.
Yeah, you won't have a character arc.
Exactly. So having said that, I mean, that's mostly why. I think also when we play on Discord, I think warlock stuff is much more complicated using the bot system that D&D Beyond has built, using Avray and that sort of thing. So I never wanted to bother.
That's possible, yeah.
And that's just like, lowest barrier to entry sort of thing. But one of the things that I do love, and I haven't even looked at this, I hope this stays the same as they update and go into 5.5 or whatever, 1D&D, whatever we're calling it. Recovering your meager 2 spell slots on a short rest.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean,
you might only have those 2. You might only
seems
have
limited to only have two. But
come back.
Having the Eldritch Blast as your default cantrip that you can deal tons of damage with, and the Eldritch Invocations gives you plenty of utility. So those spells, you need to choose wisely what you want to have ahead of time, but you have plenty of choices at your disposal. And they are very unique because most of them are not for all classes. So that's something that is pretty cool. And you can go ahead and ditch those spells because you can do a short rest and get them back. And that's pretty cool, I think.
And adding and tapping onto that, the using your Mystic Arcanum, using your patron to gain a spell that might be from a different class and that you won't necessarily need to use a spell slot once per day. Amazing. I'm gonna call out the thing that I've never seen a 20th level warlock, but 20th level, you can spend 1 minute once per long rest to try to regain all of your spell slots. And at that point, you have 4. So you do get a few more as it goes on. And instead of even a short rest, you could just have to do this pray to your patron, promise them a new something for a minute.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty much making a deal.
See, and this is also as immediately occurs to me, like that's an opportunity again as a DM to be like, your patron shows up. Okay, well, what do you give me? What's in it for me if I give you back all of your spell slots in a minute when you're about to go fight this other thing or whatever? Like, what's in it for me? Do you want to make a deal? Yeah. Amazing. And
it's fun, isn't it?
It's so, I still might never play one, but it's not out of like hatred of them. It's the
you give good reasons. I do love warlocks, but I understand what you say at the same time. They are more fun when you have a whole story to play around with.
That is
they can still be fine on their own, especially on city or urban-based adventures, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I don't know, I think many classes are similarly, that their full potential is only realized in a campaign where you can put them in combat, in diplomacy, in romance, in interrogation. You can put them in all of the different scenarios where their different abilities will actually come into play.
Yeah.
And of course, it would be remiss without mentioning that clerics at their 20th level can just ask your god for help and it succeeds.
Yes. It's like a different version of the level 20 from the warlock. It's so ridiculous how it's so despair, how the range of these level 20 abilities.
Well, and I think it has inadvertently created an opening for a DM to add in a rule, right? As it is written, as a 20th level cleric, your deity says yes.
It's a free wish per day.
It's a free wish. And a 20th level warlock, in a 1-minute conversation, you just get your spell slots back. But it's an opportunity for a DM to go, well, no, you can do the thing, warlock. You can spend a minute praying to your thing, but like then you need to make a charisma check. You need to roll persuasion. Your patron shows up and you have to have an interaction, and it might not succeed. Or at least it's going to give that player a nice moment of role play to shine and to roll some dice.
Yeah, same thing with the cleric. If you want to wish for something and the god is against that, they are going to say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. And exactly like the wish spell, as a DM, you have to like make those choices of like, would this deity really do this? Or are there unintended consequences? Is the deity like, well, I won't do that, but I'll do something.
Yeah.
Or I'll do that, but you're going to pay for it.
A no but.
Yeah, exactly. A no, it's a yes and it's a no but. Both of those I think can be like really juicy for those classes. And as a DM for yourself, just be like, I'm going to have some fun with you now.
You're level 20. You think you are all too powerful. Let me change that for you.
And I mean, and there's I have found some debate around when you're level 20, 17 to 20, you are functionally as characters as powerful as some of the deities in D&D universes and fictional universes. And what can you do with that power? What should you do with that power? If you're a wizard who can cast wish, you are kind of a god. What are you going to do about it? Like, the answer to that I find very fascinating, and it's, again, good problems for a DM to have if you get to that level, and interesting problems for a player to have, I'd hope.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to play around with.
Yeah. Well, moving right along then to your favorite subclass or subclasses. I'm curious if either any of them are warlock or cleric related, or you're going to reach into left field.
In fact, I could go along and use one of the subclasses I've played before, but I am going to go in an entirely new direction here because I managed to create a whole subclass for that may end up appearing in a product in the future. But as of now, you are able to play a paladin that is pretty much a sheriff from the Wild West. So this is the Oath of Justice, your paladin that can wield a shotgun. And now you'll start to think, okay, but what can a paladin do with a ranged weapon? All the smites work on melee attacks. Well, that's where it gets interesting because I managed to find what I think is a way to make paladins that can work with smites at a distance and still not be OP or break the game at least. So
paladins come real close anyway, just by virtue of having smites that early. But yeah, so how? I'm gonna ask how did you handle that? How did you manage to get around some of the rules as written for paladins and not having them immediately destroy everything they come across?
Okay, let me check here real quick to find the right point. So there is this spellcasting focus that you can use as part of your third level Oath of Justice feature that says you can use your gun as a spellcasting focus for your paladin spells. You can use these weapons attacks in place of melee weapon attacks to use Divine Smite. In addition, spells that require an attack roll can be made with a firearm. This means that you can use smites with your firearm. As you keep going, you will keep earning abilities that go more into this Oath of Justice and being a sheriff of the town of the Wild West. For example, one of the channel abilities that it has, it's Bullseye. As an action, you can focus your aim for 1 minute once per round. When a ranged weapon attacks you, when a ranged weapon attack you make misses, you can decide for it to hit. You can not use this ability of a shot that you have taken a voluntary penalty for, such as the sharpshooter feat. Or drop your weapons, which is pretty much making an enemy make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, they have to drop their weapons.
I love that. It's what a good archetype too. Like really leaning into the sheriff who is there to lay down the law and protect. That's amazing. And in playtesting that, like, so I guess the argument might be many guns as they are currently built into D&D have a higher base damage than than many melee weapons. And so you didn't find that this paladin would just like be able to make 2 gunshots both with smites and destroy everything immediately?
Well, on that regard, the thing that we have going on that is something that may appear in the future, the one of the creators of the webpage Tribality that I work for, writing articles on it, is thinking on the possibility of writing Wild West setting. And on that, we are going to make sure that the ranged weapons and firearms are all balanced in order to work with the system. So the paladin, as it is here on Tribality, doesn't have any sort of adjustments on the firearm weapons that appear on the DMG per se. You can make your own modifications. What I would recommend is just flavoring a short bow and a long bow as a firearm, and that should be it to make it more balanced. But you can do your own thing. This is being play tested at the moment on a campaign played by the players of the Tribality creator, and we will see how that ends up getting some more modifications along the way. As it is so far, it has some additional spells that include smites that you can make from a distance. So playing around with that by having your spellcasting focus that can be a ranged weapon, you can make attacks from a distance, and so far so good. It's just very much flavor wise, I really enjoy this subclass, and having only played it for a one shot, I look forward to one day try it on a longer campaign and see what I can make out of it.
Yeah, I mean it looks really exciting. We'll put it links into the show notes because I want more people to get their eyes on it. It's so cool. I mean, I'm a big fan of paladins, and something to give them range finally is, I think, really satisfying. And as I don't know, looking at it and hearing about it, it seems like it is at least no more OP than any paladin is naturally.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's always up to the DM to make sure that the party is feeling challenged. You're like, well, if I have to beef up my monster's hit points or have a higher CR or something, that's the DM's job to make sure that your players are still feeling challenged.
Exactly. Again, this has not been fully play tested yet, so it may be OP for your game. You can make your own adjustments as you go, or you can leave me a comment on the article and we can see what can change. If you play with it, let me know. I'd love to know what you thought of it, and if it was used on a long-term campaign, on a shorter one, or something in between. I just love the flavor that it has, and love to use a paladin in a Wild West campaign. I think it'll be really fun.
Absolutely. Amazing. Well, I feel like I want to use that to segue into other things that you have written and are designing. And I know specifically, let's talk about Magnolia, City of Marvels. And I think I'm going to let you give the pitch for it before I ask you questions about it.
Okay, so with this, I came a bit prepared. I sort of have an elevator pitch going on here. Magnolia, the City of Marvels, setting of art, punk, and rebellion, is a system-agnostic setting in which art takes central place. This means that it's pretty much a currency within the City of Marvels. Nobles have gathered control of the colorful city that takes inspiration from Italy's Cinque If you have seen the movie Luca, from Pixar, you will know how it looks like. Very colorful, very much a coastal city filled with tourism and stuff like that. And the government there is a plutocracy, meaning that the wealthy stay in power and make the rules. These nobles set art to remain in a very conservative manner, not allowing it to evolve. This means that your usual stuff that you will associate with classical art, let's say. That's what is there in all places, in murals, in the music that is played, in paintings, even in food itself, because art appears in several different ways, even in writing as well.
Sure.
And that's when the Purple Dragons and other gangs come in. These are gangs that appear to sort of destroy and disrupt the status quo and allow freedom of expression throughout all forms of art. They come in with these graffiti cans that are magical in nature to graffiti all over the city and lay their mark there, trying to find the freedom of art. The product is made from the ground up by a team of mostly POC designers, myself included, artists and creators from all corners of the world. For example, I am from Argentina, very much in the south of the Americas, and we have from the US, we have from Mexico, we have from more places of Central America, we have from Iceland, we have from another one from Argentina, some Asian folk involved as well. But yeah, the product puts quality over quantity, making a gorgeous and artsy book in which every single page should give a minimum of 2 ideas for adventures in any system or genre of your choice. We even include a whole section detailing how you can adapt Magnolia to easily any game that you want. You want to play Monster of the Week in that, even though it is a medieval fantasy game, you can do so. In fact, there is an actual play going on in September that will be a 12 session play of Monster of the Week that will use Magnolia as its setting, and it's pretty dope. I really recommend it. Then you can play in a more sort of Call of Cthulhu or investigation game. City of Mist can play in Kuwait as well, and we have a whole section of this product that will give you tips on how to adapt the setting to your liking to fit any of those genres or systems that you like.
Amazing. That is hell of a pitch. Hell of a pitch. You. And I'm really excited about a couple different things, and I'm going to ask a little bit more about them. Like, one thing for me is designing this from the ground up to be system agnostic. And do I have a question there? The question is kind of, how did you do that? I think, but that is a very large one. But I think it's how and why. I'm curious. Like, given the option of, let me make things mechanically easier and only design this for D&D, only design this for a Powered by the Apocalypse system, versus let me make some more work for myself, essentially, and like, here's how you would translate this in other systems. So yeah, so why did you opt for that, and how did you manage to make it happen?
Okay, I'm fascinated by it, and I want to answer all of those questions because, yeah, the reason why I wanted to create a system agnostic setting, which is the same reason I went with Gothborg, my previous product, as a sort of system agnostic thing, even though it has the parts of the name Morkborg in it, is that I have seen D&D do stuff that I don't quite enjoy as much, and I wanted to branch out a bit from it. That means that I want to create products for other games as well. For example, I have designed for Paizo, Pathfinder 2E, and I want to create more stuff for them. I want to give more stuff to the indie games. If you have your own idea of a game and you want to put it into my product because you like it very much, I want to give you all the tools to make it as easier as possible. And in order to do that, I just created a place. This should be like your sort of touristic guide of the city of Magnolia. We will tell you all that you can find in it. We will tell you all the factions that play, all the nobles that are there, all the rivalistic ways in which they meddle with each other. Then there's the Purple Dragons and all the other gangs that have their own problem with each other at the same time. And there is a lot of Game of Thrones going in there. There is a lot of adversarial play, factions going on. You can decide to be any of those. You don't need to be a purple dragon. You don't need to be a noble. You can even play as the guards, the red plumes that act for the nobles there. But really, they just want there to be a strict law going on, and even though they have to follow the rules from the nobles, they don't even care about this stuff going on between the arts and all of that. If you want to go with a more mystery campaign, let's say you want to play a noir sort of game, you can go ahead and be a member of the Red Plumes, these guards, or some private investigator. And what do we have for you in there? There is actually a serial killer going around named the Painter, the artist, I mean. And this guy makes out of the corpses of the nobles new pieces of art, and it is
fucking
fucked up and horrifying. In the same vein of movies like Seven, for example. So take inspiration from that and go ahead and give your players a mystery campaign. They can go, and this is your sandbox. Make it your own. Grab your system of choice, use the details and tips that we will lay for you to adapt this setting, not only for the medieval times, but you can play it on nowadays. You just adapt a few things that will lay some tips for you to do so.
Flavor.
It's all flavor at the end of the day. Instead of having the graffiti can be a magical item, it is in fact a graffiti can. You want to have guns in your game, you do so. If you want to have a hacker because you want it to happen in the future, do so as well. The rebellion happening within the Purple Dragons are all cyberpunk in a way. In fact, we took inspiration from Cyberpunk for the whole faction of gangs going on. This is, as it has been said by one of the writers of Rascal, and we say it as well, it is the perfect blend of medieval fantasy and cyberpunk. If that is to your liking, then Magnolia is perfect for you.
I mean, that is some very high praise, I think. What is it about centering it on art that, like, where did that choice come from? I say centering in that the characters that I think that it sounds like the characters and the city, art is such an important piece of it. And presumably as players within this setting, art has to be almost as important to you as to your character, I guess. And I know there is a long history of revolution and art going hand in hand together. But I'm curious why that was the focus for you guys as you created this.
I mean, I would love to say that the idea of Magnolia came from all this AI and stuff going on with the artist world and the lack of respect that there is in many aspects for art in some stuff and how it can move and create a revolution. But there is a bit of that and not as much either. The idea of Magnolia came to me on the 2020s, on the COVID pandemic. And I took inspiration.
All sitting around with a lot of time to think.
I took inspiration from stuff like Splatoon, for example, or Cyberpunk, stuff like that, in which it's very colorful. There's a lot of colors. There's the art itself. It's so important to all those worlds. And I created it as a campaign for my players playing in D&D. And they had an amazing experience with it. I saw it. I put so much time in it that I said, okay, this is something that could go even better than it is at the moment. But because it is a touristic city and I want it to be so diverse, I can't do it alone. I need to find some people to help me with this. I want to gather as many POC people, as much of a diverse sort of collaboration going on here, so that we can make Magnolia the best possible product out of it. And because we're most of us creators for RPGs and stuff of the sort, we know what you GMs and players want the most, and we will give it to you firsthand. Each and every single page will have 2 adventure hooks or plot hooks that you can use for your own games. So if you are a player and want to create a backstory for your character, you look into the pages of this product, and I will assure you every single page will give you tons of ideas for backstory or stuff that you will want your player to do in it. As well as for GMs, just flip through one of those pages and you will find a new idea for a new campaign to play.
Always. How did you assemble the team? Did you sort of just like put out a call into the interwebs and various things saying, hey, I've got this idea, I need some people to work on it? Were there people that you reached out to specifically?
I didn't go as that much. The thing with Magnolia is that because I wanted to make it so diverse, I had a certain place I knew I could find the right candidates for. And that was Big Bad Con. I was invited twice to that convention. I can't recommend it enough.
I'm going this will be my second year, and I am so excited to go.
I unfortunately can't go this year, but I hope that I can find you or any of the listeners in there on another year. And there is this POC invitation program that allowed me and many other content creators and game designers, lots of the TTRPG people, to be able to get there, because flight costs are expensive from the other corner of the world. And when you don't have a currency as powerful as the dollar, it is very hard to get there. So having the help from Big Bad Con and getting to see and interact with all these people allowed me to get to know and make contacts with lots of fascinating and amazing people that many of those are friends of mine right now. And the moment that I wanted to create Magnolia, I just knew who to call for that. And I went directly. And the moment that they started telling them what the whole idea of Magnolia was about, no one said no. They all were all in.
God, you love that.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that is the most validating way of being like, I have this idea. I don't know if anyone's going to like it. And everyone's like, no, we like it. We're here. We're on board.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope that we can make Magnolia a product that me and all the other participants of the project are proud of. I can name some of those. Those are Pampun Solan, Scott Bullock, Jaime Reyes Mondragon, Kat Kruger, Lady Azulina. There's Laura. I can't remember her name because it's
just because I'm looking at the thing that you sent me. Laura Galli.
Laura Galli, yeah. Sorry, Laura. There are plenty more. Abril Ilingar as well from Argentina. And I think I'm not forgetting anyone else. But top collaborators.
You know what? We'll credit them all in the show notes. We'll
please.
Send
sorry if I forgot someone over there. I value your work.
I know it's hard when you got such a big team and an awesome team. Yeah.
Yes, and I want to pay them well, and I want to create the best possible product. So in order to do that, we need to make a crowdfunding campaign. It's going to be very artsy. It's going to have these sort of vibes of being written by a novel that the book has, after being written, been stolen by a gang member who has written all over it and has slashed through some of the words and corrected some stuff that the novel just were speaking high of themselves or knew nothing about, and the Purple Dragons are going to get some more details in there. That is going to be a very fun experience from the layout style that we can play along with, and a lot of art is going to appear in it because it's Magnolia, the City of Marvels. It's an art project, so we are all in for that. And I feel very lucky to have such an amazing team behind it to work with me.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend hours and hours talking about just how you assemble the team for your amazing idea to like really make it happen. And that's, I mean, more free promo for Big Bad Con. It is the best con. I will just go ahead and say the best, and full of some of the best people. Like I love that is where you found everyone, and that everyone was immediately on board. That's I don't know.
I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. Man, and in the course of writing it, what chunk of it, I'm trying to, if I'm going to phrase this correctly, I think what chunk of it took the most of your attention, in the sense that like, what I'm imagining is, as you build this out, right, it is important to know a lot about the city and about its inhabitants, versus designing campaign where you need to know the steps of things that are going to happen. You need to have stat blocks. You might want to design a new whole thing for a specific system. So is there a thing that like, really describing the city took like everyone's effort for a long time, really getting all of the NPCs lined up in the head of the Purple Dragons, the head of the other gangs? Did that sort of make sense? I don't know that I articulated it super well.
No, you have said quite a lot in there. And there's a lot of effort put into that. We haven't started writing Magnolia yet because we want to gather enough money to pay the writers fairly for their work. But we more or less have a structure that we want to follow. And that means, first and foremost, tell you how much of an important thing art is within this city. It's just a city. It's not a world. I may expand on it in the future. I don't know.
Sure.
We will get to see that. But art is extremely crucial for Magnolia, so it deserves a whole section. Then there's the city as well, that will have all of its different districts that are very particular in their own ways. There is one that is very focused on being spooky and mysterious. There is another one that has a haunted lighthouse. There's the one in which all the gang members unite. There's the nobles as well, have a whole district with a giant orb floating over their head that is a symbol of the goddess of beauty and art. And then we wanted to have plenty of details about factions. That's something that I wanted to focus a lot on.
Right.
Because we can give you a whole sandbox to play in, but the characters need to be good enough for you to want to use them and have these sort of connections going back and forth. Some of the noblemen are very mafia-esque in their way, like the Godfather, let's say. There are others that have powers in different aspects of the city. There is one that controls the University of Art. That is the thing that allows you to use the city as your canvas. If you aren't a part of an artist that graduated in this university, you can't paint or use art in the city. You can just do it like privately. Then there are other nobles like the Magno that are the most important ones, that are the ones that control the guards and the wine, and quite some things about fashion as well. All the noblemen dress in a very particular way, similar to the nobles from Hunger Games. So you can have that sort of approach to them. And very flamboyant and all that stuff. And then there's the gangs that are each and every gang has their own faction, because we have the Purple Dragons that want to rebel and want the best for the city and art itself. There are the Jade Emeralds, Jade Serpents, I mean, which want the same as the Purple Dragons, but don't are scared to do it in a more dangerous and extremist way. They don't care if they have to kill every single noble to make sure that the art is as it needs to be. There are some ones that are in between there within the 2 points, like some guiles that are going on. And you as a GM can pull from all those different factions and create adventures of their own. Have the players not be part of one faction in particular, but try to help them all in different ways. Maybe as you get more renowned, let's say, with the Purple Dragons, you make the noblemen mad at you. But they need your help anyway to get rid of a monster that appeared. So they call for you and they say, okay, you want to have some contacts within the nobleman. You can help me and I can help you. But if you do something wrong, I will have the guards go after you. And there is going to be, your faces are going to appear in every single street in some signs. So you will have no place here in Magnolia.
Yeah.
So there's this power dynamic that you can play around with and have a lot of fun.
Well, and I really love that. To me, it's reading a lot. You have built an amazing skeleton, and it is up to GMs to add the muscle tissue, the nerves, and and layers out to the skin. But the skeleton is really there in terms of at least the setting and the NPCs and the relationships and how you can make your players bounce off of your NPCs and the different factions within the city.
Exactly. And I hope that with such an amazing team of designers that we have, we can make it so that at all times you feel that we are taking your hand along the way. You will not feel that we just give you the details and are there to do as your own without any help. No, we're giving you the details on how to make it your own, how to make it appear on any system of your choice, how to pull it into your own setting if you want this city of Magnolia, because you can have it be your like an adventure of its own, a campaign of its own, or pull it into your own setting and make it part of the story that you're playing in. So lots of details as well. It's going to be a complete separate part within the book.
And you random listeners of the future should all go pick it up / back it on Kickstarter, and we will have all of the details in the show notes and the things. I can't wait. I'm so excited to see more of this. Tomas, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I mean, such a pleasure to talk to you. Magnolia sounds amazing. I can't wait to read more and hear more about it. And I am so sad I will miss you at Big Bad Con this year, but I'll be looking forward to more for sure.
We will meet sometime. Don't you worry about it.
It will happen. You know what? We'll play online. We'll figure it out.
We will make it possible.
Absolutely. I love it. Tomas, where can people find you on the internet if they would like to find you? I know we said it once, but we'll say it again at the end of the show.
Okay, just to put more details into that, you can find me everywhere on the internet at T Gimenez RGM. That's spelled TGIMENEZ RGM. That's on Twitter or X, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitch,
all the things.
Pretty much anywhere.
Exeter doesn't exist.
Yeah. If you want to go to Blue Skies, that's where I try to post the most on. Trying to run away from that other hell site.
Very much. And we will. All the things will be there, and look for Magnolia when it comes out. And I got nothing. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'm going to say best of luck, but I don't think you need it. I think Magnolia is going to be awesome.
Let's hope so.
Based on the team. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I hope you as listeners can help us make Magnolia the best product possible for you as well, and something that we as creators can feel proud of.
Absolutely. I can't think of a better way to close us out. Thank you so much for listening. Go check out Magnolia, City of Marvels, coming soon to your ear. Check out Tomas's other work. It looks amazing. I'm going to definitely try to run a game of Gothborg because I know some people that would absolutely love it.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We'll keep classing it up next time.